Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. Hi, this is Craig. Just want to let you know you can now advertise here on Everyone Loves Guitar podcast. For more information, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. And I just want to give a shout out to Steve Mazer from Our Lady Peace for hooking me and Lawrence Katz up. Today is my guest from the Mighty Bosstones. Comes from Atlanta, Georgia. Grew up listening to Iron Maiden, Ozzy, Van Halen, and Zeppelin. But he's actually more into BMX and skateboarding than guitar. He did get the bug to start playing in high school when he heard Zeppelin's Good Times, Bad Times, and he started taking lessons. After high school, he went to Berkeley, moved back to Atlanta. Then he moved out to LA with a buddy of his in 97. And then he joined the Mighty Bosstones as a full band member in 2000 and moved back to Boston. When the band took a break in 2003, Lawrence moved back to LA. Dude, you move a lot. Like, I can't even keep track of this shit. Built a studio and started doing sessions and writing. And then he got into doing commercials, film, and TV licensing. The Bosstones then reunited. And since then, Lawrence has done 3 records with them and a lot of shows. The band's doing well once again. He's also toured with Latin artists Beto Cuevas and Daniel Powder. And he recently left LA, shocking, after 20 years to move again across the country, this time to Philadelphia. And you got to have like fucking move or two left in you, man. I feel it. I think like
I'll probably, listen, man, if I may go back to LA at some point, but
there you go.
Maybe back to Atlanta would make sense probably at this rate. But
did you, was Aaron Mcclain on that gig with you, or before or after you with Beto Cuevas?
I don't know Aaron, so I can't answer that.
He plays with Air Supply now. Good, a guy from LA.
He's a guitar player.
Yeah.
I bet he probably came in after me.
Yeah.
Because when I joined up with that, in fact, and bring Joel back into the mix, I think Joel hooked me up with that. I think that was Beto's first kind of foray into the solo musician world, solo artist world.
Gotcha.
So,
all righty, man.
So real quick, let me one correction from the intro.
Please.
Not only it wasn't that I heard Good Times, Bad Times. It was that I saw some older kids play Good Times, Bad Times.
Oh, okay.
And it was unusual because in my high school there was zero music education, but there were some older kids that were just great musicians. And, I remember it was like a talent show and they played Good Times, Bad Times. They played YYZ.
That's my whole
and like,
youth.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was like, that was it for me, basically.
Very cool.
Like, the dude playing guitar, and I still, know him somewhat to this day, a guy named John Gillespie. He was Jimmy Page as far as I was concerned.
As far as he was concerned too, I bet.
Well, it was interesting though, because as kids, you kind of like, you start taking on these personas. And then you kind of start looking like these people too. There was another kid who may as well have been Paul McCartney. Like it was kind of unusual and very cool.
Awesome, man. So, when you went to Berkeley, did you know at that point you were going to play guitar for a living?
I don't know that I knew what a living was.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Like, I just knew I wanted to play guitar, and I'd kind of like, through high school, I started to kind of identify with being a guitar player. And I grew up in a family that was pretty, very pro education, to say the least, and so college was kind of like you're going to college kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I started school in private schools and didn't kind of really cut it through there, and then ended up in this public school, which is where I started to get turned on to some of the kids that were doing things that maybe kids shouldn't be doing, but also turning into great musicians. So, long story short, I started, my parents were, like I say, very pro college. I wasn't that interested in going to college, but didn't have any real kind of like course of action to say why I didn't want to go to college. So I started college. And then once I got into college, I realized why I didn't want to go to college. And then I made a deal with my parents that if I kind of like excelled to a certain place at the regular college, then I could transfer over to Berkeley.
Yeah.
So I did one semester in a school very close to where you are in Lakeland, Florida.
Oh yeah. UCF? Where'd you go?
It was Lakeland, Florida Southern College.
What the hell were you doing down there?
Dude, I mean, honestly, it was like the place that
where is the most marijuana smoked in Florida?
Yeah, well, wherever marijuana was being smoked, I was going to be able to find it. So, but no, I remember like my parents like hooked up with like a college kind of counselor sort of thing, and they were doing some sort of music business program, and that was going to be the kind of like my parents didn't understand at the time what it meant to be. What being a professional musician meant. And, you can't blame them. They weren't like, oh, you're not going to do this. But they were looking for ways to kind of make some concessions so that, you could make a living doing it. And they had some sort of music business program. And that's what I started doing, I suppose.
It's funny.
And it took about 3 months. It took about 3 minutes for me to know I didn't want to be there, and 3 months to get out of there.
I've spoken to several guys who they've like negotiated Berkeley as an option.
That's kind of what it is. Yeah. And truth be told, right out of high school, I don't think that I would have been able to get into Berkeley necessarily.
Right.
So I got a little bit of music education at that college also. Okay. And prior to that, even though I had taken lessons, my kind of background was more or less, learning songs off of records.
Right.
Literally records.
Yeah, I know. I remember those days, man. Let's talk about these moves. Oh, by the way, first of all, I want to congratulate you because you're a new dad, man. So.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations and Godspeed.
I appreciate it. Indeed. Hanging on tight. I got so far so good. I got pretty lucky. I'll knock on wood, but she's super easy and super awesome.
Wait a minute. Let's qualify that. And how old is she?
Almost 20 months to the day.
Oh, I thought she was like a brand new. Okay, that's pretty good.
No, she's 20 months. She's
that's great.
Just a little behind Adam's kid, basically.
Okay, yeah, okay, very cool, man. So let's talk about some of these moves. So tell me, what prompted each one of these moves, and let's start with your first one, Atlanta, after finishing Berkeley, which is basically move back home, I guess, right?
I think, yeah, that's right. It was going home. I think that the logic, if there was any, and it's still kind of a regret to this day, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that the idea was big fish, small pond. Mm-hmm. But looking back, it was probably, safety.
Yeah.
Probably, post Berkeley, I didn't have a real good vision of what to do or what you could do.
Yeah. Well, how would you?
So, no, I don't know. I have no idea how you could. It's a spin cycle too. You know what I mean? Like you come spinning out of there and you're like, well, wait a minute, I've been kind of in like, this kind of fantasy world on some level and this kind of bizarro world on another level.
Yeah.
So you go from kind of like full on, practicing 8 to 12 hours a day and then trying to figure out how you're supposed to make a living doing that.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the norm. Like once in a blue moon, I'll meet these people. They were like, yeah, when I was 23, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, that's unique.
Yeah, because most 23-year-olds just like I didn't really have any awareness about anything until I was like in my the mid 30s, man. So I'm like, wow, good for you, really.
And that was also kind of, I mean, that's part of the reason why I ended up staying in Berkeley till the end, because I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
so
makes sense. That
kind of gave me free rein just to, poke around in a lot of different directions. But at the same time, it's admirable when you see people that are headstrong and definitive about their path
at that young of an age, especially, man.
Indeed. And I don't, there's been I don't think the one way is right, one way is wrong.
No, it's
so by any stretch. So, you go through and the truth is, I suppose, is that if you are headstrong about one thing, then you're closing yourself off to other things. So, but it's, it's kind of the desert island thing, right? You get on the island, you sink the ship, and you survive or you don't.
Yeah. I think we're all just working our way through shit, man.
Yeah,
one day at a time,
Fair enough. I know I am.
And then you went out to LA from Atlanta, which was a really bold move. What was that all about?
Well, I'd been in Atlanta kind of kicking it around, playing in bands, doing everything from working in bars, doing my own band, to playing blues gigs, to teaching guitar. And I had a buddy of mine, I was telling you, that I had known in college, and he came through town he moved to LA right out of Boston, basically. He's one of these dudes that has a pretty defined vision of how he wants his life to be and what he wants to do. And he's also got the skills to back it up. He went out to LA and was doing kind of the audition circuit. Or actually wasn't even doing the audition circuit. I think he was filling in for a friend, so a friend could audition for an somewhat unknown artist at the time named Alanis Morissette. And so he's not even trying to get the gig. He ends up getting the gig. And anyway, back to the other question, he ends up coming through Atlanta. The first time, they're in a van. The second time, they're in a bus. The third time, they're in the mega dome and a whole fleet of, crew, et cetera. It looked real appealing. So, then he basically connected me with a friend of his that had a position available that I played, a guy named Darren Johnson, who was also just a ridiculous musician. He actually played with Miles Davis when he was, early 20s.
Oh,
and he
guitar?
and his wife, no, he was a keyboard player, still is.
Wow.
I suppose. So he was a friend of my friend Chris. Chris Cheney is the other dude's name. And he was putting together a thing with his wife, and that was the kind of impetus to move out to LA.
Getting hooked up with this keyboard player.
With Darren. Yeah, Chris hooked me up with Darren. Chris also had, a room available in the house that he was living in, and yeah, so that was it. I mean, at that point I was hitting walls in Atlanta anyway. And like I said before, probably never should have moved back to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Cuz there was a really cool thing happening in Boston around that time period in the early 90s in kind of the indie rock world, kind of even just coming off of the Pixies and Dinosaur Jr. and things like that. And there was just a cool, and even the Bosstones for that matter. Yeah. There was just Boston was happening in the indie rock world. And, had I stayed, who knows, but I didn't.
Then you got the gig with the Bosstones, and you did move back to Boston.
Yeah. Years later though. I mean, there was some ups and downs before then.
But what was that? What prompted that move? Is it just because that's where the Bosstones home base was? Or?
That was the Bosstones home base, exactly. And we had toured for a while I was still living in LA, and it didn't really matter where I was because it was get on a plane, get on a bus. And then we kind of shut the touring cycle down and started working on a new record. And I wanted to be part of the record, so I moved out to LA. Moved back to Boston. And it was happening in Boston. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Right, so I moved. I basically, and I'm sure you've heard this story 1,000 times. I moved to Boston, and then 9/11 happened. So that, it changed everything for everyone. Some more than others, fortunately. Not extreme for me.
So then the Bosstones take a break, and you're like, "Fuck it, I'm going back to LA."
Yeah, it was cold in Boston, and the break, could be, that's also some kind of 9/11 fallout too. Yeah. Just everything changed.
Yeah.
The touring landscape changed, the economy changed, maybe even the desire changed. It got harder to travel, and Yeah, so at that point, instead of staying in Boston, there was nothing for me to stay in Boston for at that point.
So you just knew you'd get
I moved back to LA.
The work was in LA for you.
Indeed. Yeah. And I'd already lived in LA and probably was ultimately more connected to LA and had more friends there. And you know, LA is LA. There's good reason to be there.
Sure.
Particularly at that time.
And then this recent move to Philly, that was just something for like family or your wife or something like that, if I remember.
My wife, who's also an artist, a fashion designer, was just basically offered a job that you couldn't turn down.
Great.
So so here we are, basically.
All right. So let's go back to the Bosstones. In 2003, they took a break. What was that? Like, is there an official reason for that or something you could talk about without?
I think that people were getting burnt out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, particularly, at that time I hadn't been in the band that long. So I was obviously still fired up to keep it going. But I think at the time, they came off of huge success, did a follow-up record that came out as the music industry was kind of starting to, eat itself, Napster, et cetera.
Yeah.
The methodology to break records was just not the infrastructure had just changed and things were different. And, they came off of a record that sold, multi-platinum and then went into like the music industry is just dying. It's like the whole Seagram's Universal thing, their team disappeared and that record did well, but certainly not as well. And then the next record, things just start to fade out even more than 9/11. And then it just started to become work, I think, is probably more than the thing.
Yeah, I totally get that. Then you got into licensing music, which as an outsider coming from the business world, I think is, that would be my number one goal if I was getting into the music business, quite frankly, because it's, sort of mailbox money and you can create an asset base that lasts forever pretty much.
Yeah.
Can you share a couple of experiences, like how you got into it and things that have happened that are interesting or cool?
I think that, the licensing world, again, kind of on the heels of radio on the decline, the music business on the decline, kind of the value of music on the decline. It's kind of like it just started to get it just turned into kind of a popular thing, I guess, around the songwriting circles, I suppose, where it was an outlet, it was an outlet for artists on some level to get recognition, and it was an outlet for you to make music and not even have to be that connected to it necessarily as a kind of a life's purpose and your vision as an artist. You're providing, on some level it's a great thing because I love to make music and I love writing music and I love producing music. There is a low-lying fruit element to it too, because you're providing people with a kind of a path of least resistance to have music used in places where the budgets aren't big enough to use whatever the huge band is.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why a lot of unsigned or lesser known artists will kind of push their music through those channels.
How'd you get turned on to that in the first place?
I think as I started writing with people and producing, there were just different, there's artists around LA that that's kind of their game, and they'll do it with different producers. And I became a guy that would co-write and produce tracks. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, sorry. Are you still doing that now?
I do. Yeah. I do a decent amount of it, and it's good.
Yeah.
Again, I don't see it as much as, I'm not, it's not change the world music necessarily, but it is making music, and I like to make music, so it feels good to me. As long as it feels good, it feels sincere. It's also, you're writing and producing from a place of a, it's not total inspiration and total vision. You know what I mean? You're fulfilling a need in a marketplace on some level. And so you're writing within those parameters, but that's okay too. Cause I don't always need to express myself to the deepest depths of my soul. And it's good practice to write music with some sort of, assignment in mind even.
It's almost like I just thought of this as you were talking. It's almost like being a session writer.
And in some ways,
instead of being a session.
Well, you're being commissioned on some level to fulfill a need that people want.
Yeah.
And it's making music is the goal to me.
Yeah. That's great.
I'm not necessarily trying to impose my life's views on everybody as much as I am just trying to make music.
Yeah. But if doing this is an opportunity to do something related to music that will allow you to then spend time doing things that does represent, your life's mission or something that's near and dear to your heart. That's great.
Absolutely.
I think it's wonderful.
And it's all pieces of the same puzzle, I suppose. You got to work and, I'm not 23.
Yeah.
So.
No, but I mean, someone's got to make the music. They're going to pay somebody. If you've got the ability and a skill set and a talent and a connection, why not you?
Indeed.
Indeed.
I think and then on the other side of that, I do, I produce records with artists who genuinely do want to express themselves and live in that world of real, like, kind of, I don't want to call one real music and one not real music, but making real records in the traditional sense of making a record.
Yeah, listen, I think it's real important that you do stuff. Plus, the other thing is, at least my limited exposure to the way the business works, you're going to be out there working with people, and they're going to say, "Hey, I need a guitar player for my gig," or "My buddy's got an opening." So, and I think that's an important thing to take into consideration. The most important thing
is just to keep moving.
Yeah.
And do things that you can. The most important thing is to continue to make as much music as possible.
Right.
On some level, regardless of what the purpose is, what the outlet is. The idea is to continue to flex that muscle and exercise that muscle and get better and better at making music.
Absolutely. And nothing happens.
You can paint a billboard one day and you can, paint the Sistine Chapel the next.
Right.
You're still painting.
And nothing happens when you're sitting in your house. So yeah,
that's right.
Keep moving. I agree with you. Are you working on anything now that you're excited about?
Well, I just moved.
So putting your new studio together.
I am. Yes. I'm working on rebuilding some roots and getting my studio rebuilt here after having it in LA forever. But no, I produced a record recently, an artist named J.R. Moore that's just came out 2 weeks ago. Kind of a country/Americana thing. I have a writing partner that I'm constantly doing records with for the one of the main outlets is a company called Position Music that's kind of what we're talking about, the licensing stuff. But don't get me wrong, these are real productions. I mean, they're full produced, radio ready, record quality sounding tracks.
Very cool.
And then there's that project I was telling you about, the whole damn mess.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was cool, man.
Thanks.
That was really cool. Talk about that, man, because I really dug that.
It's great. I love it. That also came out of the same writing production partner I was just talking about, a guy named C. Todd Nielsen is his name. He and I met a dude named Don Miggs, and we were basically just getting together for a songwriting session just to see where it went. He was an artist or is an artist, I should say. And we just started writing, and it started sounding great. It started to feel really honest and really genuine. And it was more than just kind of, because in LA, you have a lot of these kind of like producers and writers, and they jump from producer and writer to producer and writer, and you just make tons of music. Maybe it shows up, maybe it doesn't, maybe there's a connection, maybe there's not. but the three of us had a really great connection. So we just kept writing, and we made that record. It's called The Queen and the Outcast. And it's something I'm super proud of.
Man, I would encourage anybody listening to check it out. It's called, the name of the band is The Whole Damn Mess. It's Queen and the Outcast.
That's correct. Yeah.
And it was a shame because Lawrence, the band was here in Tampa, and they were playing the same night that I had already committed to going to see. It was Jeff Fielder was in town with Amy Ray, and so I unfortunately missed it. But I checked out the record. It's really good, man. It was definitely check it out. It's called The Whole Damn Mess. Really good music.
B-sides from that are coming out here in the next couple of weeks also.
Well, the videos in that were really strong too. Like it was, they don't.
Oh yeah, the
great
John
production, man.
He's got he's got some vision when it comes to that stuff for sure.
It looked like big budget old school videos. It was really cool. That and you had that one theme of like the angry sort of like, preacher who maybe shouldn't be a preacher dude with the gun. That was like the theme. I really dug that.
The record is thematic also.
Yeah.
But I'll let the listener just choose their own journey. But
yeah,
it's, all of the songs, are a theme basically.
Really good stuff. And check out the videos too. The videos are great.
Thanks, man.
And I would say nothing if I didn't hear it.
But I appreciate that. That was fun because that was truly kind of just having the opportunity to explore.
Are you going to tour some more?
I'm sorry?
Are you going to play some more gigs?
We're playing a gig in LA on January 5th at the Troubadour.
That's awesome.
And we're about to gear up and do another record.
That's awesome, man.
That's purely for the passion. That's again, like what we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's defined what the objective is. Sometimes it's just kind of roll your sleeves up and see what happens.
That's great, man. That's really cool. Man, so you grew up in Atlanta. What was your childhood like?
I had a great childhood. Great family dynamic. Atlanta was small town feeling at the time.
Wow.
Go anywhere, but I could ride my bike anywhere by myself. Everything was great. And then the Wayne Williams murders happened, and it was do you know where your children are at 7:00?
Wow.
You remember that by chance?
I don't, man. You know what? I haven't watched news I stopped watching news when I was about 20.
Well, exactly. Well, this was about,
no, seriously.
This was like 1978.
Oh,
it was a big thing at the time, but I'm being somewhat facetious. But no, I mean, it was great. I mean, I grew up in a little neighborhood right in town, and it was awesome.
You had an older brother who got you into music. Any other siblings?
Just he and I.
Does he play?
He does play guitar now, actually. He does indeed. And he has a band with some of his buddies, and they do, kind of just fun party gigs. Nothing too serious.
Very cool.
So not serious. They're called the Goat Rodeo.
The Goat Rodeo. Shout out to the Goat Rodeo. There you go, boy. Man. I love that name.
He'll enjoy that.
The Goat Rodeo. Yeah. Tip your waiters and waitresses.
That's right.
What kind of work did your folks do? You said they were academics?
My dad, in the early part of my life, my dad owned a couple of movie theaters in Atlanta.
Wow. That's really cool.
Then changed careers pretty dramatically after that. He opened a used restaurant equipment business at one point. And this is in the 80s when it seemed like everybody was struggling. And then he took another career turn and he became, maybe at the time you call it a stockbroker. Now you call it a financial planner.
Gotcha.
And then, post 50 changed careers and, basically completely did a 180. And did it all the way up until not that long ago when he retired, probably post 80, basically.
Wow. So he's always been an entrepreneur.
He's 88 now. I guess you could say.
That's really cool. Very cool. Was your mom work or she stayed home mom?
No, my mom worked. At one point as a kid, she was, for the most part of my life, she was working for the Red Cross. And then before that, she was working.
That's pretty cool that my mom works for the Red Cross. It's like it's like almost there's like a holiness associated with that. Right. It's like, oh wow, that's.
And then after that, she went back to school. Also, kind of did a 180 and became a therapist.
Oh my God. You're lucky you're not.
Yeah,
like
fair.
she was a therapist. Like when you were a kid, you'd probably be totally fucked up.
That's right. Well, she was still her. I mean, let's face it. Takes one to know one.
Oh yeah, that's for sure, bro.
It was good though. It became a good asset actually for me.
That's very cool, man.
We all need some therapy. Let's face
God, yeah. Are you kidding? How do you get through life without having therapy? I don't like at least a little bit. I don't know, man.
By my estimation, it's a luxury. Hang tight 1 second.
Yeah, man.
Are you good? Cool. No, we're good. Sorry.
Man, is there anything that you are looking forward to doing over the next few years, or maybe even long term, if you have a vision for that? Musically,
getting better is one thing. There's still live. I still love to play live. I don't know that I would be able to do any heavy duty road work, but it always appeals to me on some level. I'm excited to continue with the Bosstones. I'm excited to continue on all the projects that we've already discussed and just kind of let those things grow. Another thing that I've been getting more into is working closer with artists, younger artists making their records, that kind of thing. And that's something I'd like to do more of for sure. That's super fulfilling, helping somebody fulfill a vision, basically.
That is cool, man. Hey, were there any like low points or obstacles that you had to deal with over your career, Lawrence, and how did you get through them? And it could be, personal, music related, business related.
Nothing tragic, certainly nothing traumatic. I guess on one example is just like when I first moved out to LA, I kind of had a vision of what it would be and what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I guess we'll call it expectations.
Yeah.
Realized pretty quickly that wasn't the way it was. As much as I had some cool experiences right out of the gate, then there was a bit of a decline, kind of the whole world of auditioning for people. I had a hard time going on all of these kind of what they would refer to as cattle call auditions. And it never appealed to me because there was just no connection. It felt like it was like they were all basically casting calls, right? Looking for the dude with the look on some level. And that was super counterintuitive to me. And but here I was kind of like, just me on an island, you kind of, that's what you do. You either start your own band, or, you go on these auditions, or maybe a friend of a friend gets you into a band kind of thing.
Sure.
So there was a while after I had done that. I had done that a lot, and it was super soul sucking for me. And at some point I was just like, there's just no way. I actually started walking dogs. My motto was that you got to pick up someone's shit. At least they may as well be cute and not talk back to you.
Dude, that is, I totally,
I should have put that on a card, by the way.
Yeah.
But then, and then some opportunity, when I kind of said no to that whole side of like going out for the gig, quote unquote, then some shit kind of started happening. And I ended up, touring and playing with a guy named Julian Coriel, who you'd be more than stoked to have on your show.
Yeah.
And talk about a guitar player.
Yeah.
He was doing a solo thing at the time, and kind of a baby band thing, but the music was great, and it was a lot of times falling on deaf ears. But I had this vision that again, because my buddy was doing it on such a high level, it appeared as though that's it was the land of milk and honey, that you just move out there and you get this gig, and all of a sudden you're in a tour bus and life is good.
Yeah.
You're living in hotels, living the rock and roll dream. So it was quite the opposite with Julian, but the musical experience was so good.
Yeah.
So it was like, I'd rather drive the van, load the van, load in all the gear, play for no one, and play great music than, have my ass wiped and stand on stage and feel zero connection to the music whatsoever.
Yeah. So,
and then post that, not long after that was when the Bosstones thing happened. And that was the that's the essence of what I just said. You know what I mean? It's you're part of something.
Let me ask you this. Thanks for sharing that, by the way. Do you find, I have done this not often enough in my life, where I've stopped doing something because I just like came to a conclusion this was not me, and it was not.
Yeah. It's a hard one to come to.
It is. It's kind of like it's like breaking up a relationship, man. It's like when you realize that, man, this person's not for me. You know, you don't just the next day say, "Hey, I just realized you're not." Right. You know, it's like a long.
I guess they call it being honest with yourself.
Yeah, you got to be real dysfunctional in the shit first, and
that's right.
You know, and like just get like, man, I am really fucking sick of this. You know.
Yeah.
Do you find that? Do you think that, just in your opinion, when you gave that thing up, that you were at that point, now I'm going to sound like I'm from California, like sort of like aligned more.
Yeah, you're like you're opening yourself up to other opportunities.
Well, just, the universe is like now like aligning more with you because you're being a little more sincere with yourself.
No, there's no question. Yeah. I don't know that I was that elevated in my thought process at the time. You know what I mean? I maybe I should have been. I think that, but listen, I say a lot, like no is a powerful answer.
Yes. Yeah. No is a complete sentence.
Right. And if you're definitive about what you want, then that's what you'll attract.
Yeah.
If you're kind of like a bit of a butterfly, which, admittedly I am, I'm floating from opportunity to opportunity, hoping that one opens a door and kind of shows me exactly what it is that I want. So, you can be defined in what you want, and that's probably what you'll get.
Yeah.
Or you can, hop around a little bit, but it's hard because when you're out there, it feels like you have to say yes to everything.
Yes.
Because but the problem, the other side, the negative side of that is that can come off as desperation.
Totally. Yeah.
And desperation stinks.
Yeah. It's interesting what you said. You said I wasn't that elevated. Nobody is, because if you're that elevated, you don't go through that whole process. Then you're the guy on say, this is not for me. Done. You don't have the dysfunctional breakup or the whole suffering. It's kind of a weird thing. I think it's one of those things where
they call it a narcissist. I think. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I don't think you could. I think that's one of those things where it's like one of the tuitions you have to pay in life. You're not going to know that shit until you. Like breaking up a relationship, you're in one, you know what, I've realized is not for me. And then, the next time, you don't wait as long or you.
Well, right. Also, there have been times in my life where I'm very comfortable being uncomfortable.
All right. Yeah.
And that can be an issue.
Yeah.
All for fear of being uncomfortable. If that makes any sense.
No, it does. Well, I think it depends. Like with me, I had like a real stressful childhood. So that was my comfort zone.
That's right.
So for me, it was like
you're comfortable being uncomfortable.
Because that was my norm. And then I got older. I'm like, I think I need to fucking stop that.
Yeah, fair.
It's somebody else is going to bring stress into my life. Fine, but why would I continue doing it?
That's right.
But it doesn't happen over, and it didn't for me anyway. I wish it did. So all this being said, if you had to go back and give advice to your younger self, what advice might you have given yourself, personally or career-wise or anything?
Personally, what advice would I give myself? God, it's so tricky. The thing that I struggled with the most, whether it was through Berkeley or moving to LA, is the intimidation factor. Because there's just a lot of people, again, it's kind of what we were talking about, the social media, it looks like everybody's got it made. There's a little bit of a woe is me factor when you get that intimidated.
Yeah.
But so I think that there would be a little bit of that, like acknowledge that you're kind of like in the big leagues, and it's gonna, you're gonna get knocked down every so often, and get back up and be confident in your abilities, basically.
So you would have given yourself permission to feel a little shaky, and it's told yourself, "Hey, this is all par for the course."
But not let it shut me down so much.
Yeah.
Because here's the crux of it, is that you find music and it becomes your sanctuary, it becomes your safety zone. All of a sudden, you found this place where you can go and you can kind of escape, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, there's things that are riding on it. Your livelihood's riding on it. Your all this is probably ego shit, but you're judged based on your abilities, not. It's now getting fully exposed. It's not as much of a personal experience anymore, and it's tricky. When your escape becomes your reality, it becomes a different dynamic. Yeah. And now you're getting, the hardest thing for me, especially at Berklee, was just getting judged.
Yeah.
It's like, because there's just, you're looking around and you've got these guys that are just like, just like bizarro, like crazy, bizarrely good, like savants, you know what I mean? Like kind of geniuses. And you're like, but so I guess then the advice would be like, stay in your lane, do what you do. You don't have to you don't have to be as good as everybody else. You don't have to do what everybody else does. And you don't necessarily even have to prove anything. You just kind of have to be confident in what you do and who you are. And that's good enough.
That's really good advice, man. Stay in your lane. Did you go to? Okay, sorry.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, you go.
Well, no, I was just saying that there's space for everybody, and when you see that someone else is really doing great, doing what you're doing, it's not, the message isn't that, oh, the slot's already been taken.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yes. Oh, that doesn't mean, and it's this is an optimistic, pessimistic kind of conversation on some level, and having, like, again, Berklee was like running the fucking gauntlet every day, except you got a gig bag on your back. You know what I mean? It's like, so that was a tricky situation for me. Like finding, it was when music became competitive, that's when it got fucking weird for me.
Yeah. But that's a good thing. That's a really smart thing you just said, as far as there's space for everybody. Cause I think it's kind of like, I've been a consultant for 20 years, and a lot of people think, well, someone else has this business, I can't do it. Or, I feel people have money issues sometimes because they think like, well, if I'm going to make money, someone else is not going to make money.
That's right.
It doesn't work like that. It's not like if you get $10, somebody else loses $10. It's
right. Well, and again, that's the whole Instagram thing. It's like the fucking envygram. It's like, oh man, everything he's doing is amazing. It's hard. The way I'm wired, it's harder for me to turn that into inspiration and easier for me to turn it into intimidation.
Yeah, I get you. But there's there's so many people on there that like my wife and I call like Facebook parents or Facebook, like, especially when you see like people our age and they get on there, like, this is a real funny one that I have these clients of mine, and they don't listen to this show, so I could say this. They're not happily married, and like they're always on there, like, and they're my age. I'm 55, maybe even older, and they're like, "Oh, my husband or my wife, they're so gorgeous, and I love them." And then like when I'm on the phone, they're like, he's cheating on me.
And I'm like, it's all smoke and mirrors. Yeah, it's like the Wizard of Oz. You look behind the curtain. It's like, okay, like not what you thought.
Why would you?
And it's like again, and yeah.
Like, so why would you be deluding yourself? Like, why don't you just deal with it and like, I don't know, leave? I'm not going to play armchair therapist, but like, it's you look on there, it's like, wow, they live such charmed lives. Yeah,
it's my kind of my metaphor for this in like kind of the LA world is like, because those like you come in contact with so many people, like even like a guy like Lyle, they're breathing rarefied air. The dude played with Sting, the list goes fucking on and on and on. Yeah. And, just because you don't get those huge opportunities, and this was kind of the shutdown thing for me with like watching my buddy and like play with Alanis, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, even if you're not in the Foo Fighters or whatever it may be, it doesn't mean that you're not, that the things you're doing aren't just as cool on some level.
Or just as successful.
Right. Again, that's the definition of success, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like it's hard not to be allured by, those kind of qualifications.
Yeah.
I mean, those are pretty amazing opportunities, but they're few and far between, and not everybody gets those opportunities, and not everybody gets the same opportunities you do. So anyway, what I was saying is that kind of the metaphor I use is like being at the bottom of the top of the mountain.
Yeah, the bottom of the.
So it's like listen, if you get to base camp on Everest, you've gotten to a place that not a lot of people have gotten to.
Oh, hell yeah!
If you get to the top of Everest, you just narrowed that number down even more. But not everybody gets to the top of Everest.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
And you got to be okay with that.
Yeah, but if you get on the mountain, it's pretty good. And being, again, back to kind of like what I would tell the younger self or whatever is like, kind of be happy with where you are, be satisfied with where you are. Because if you're always looking beyond where you are, then you're never going to be satisfied.
Yeah, man, for sure.
So, it's I mean, that's just that.
Man,
if you don't win a Grammy, doesn't mean you're not making great music.
Oh, hell yeah. I know. The standards are ridiculously high. Well, the perceived standard of what,
right? It's perception. It's not even standards.
No,
it's just a different game. It ultimately has nothing to do with music. So you can make great music that nobody ever hears, and you can make shitty music that everybody hears, and you win awards for it.
Right?
They're not mutually exclusive.
No, 100%.
Or is that they are mutually exclusive? Sorry, that phrase always confuses me. But
you're all good.
But yeah. So the goal, unless the goal changes, the goal is to be a great musician, and the goal is to make great music. And if the goal changes to make tons of money and get all kinds of awards and be on everybody's radar as the it person, then it's a different set of goals and a different set of objectives. Those haven't ever been my fuel necessarily.
Well, also, if those are your goals, you may be really successful and never even realize it because you didn't hit those targets.
Right. That's right.
Which is really a shame.
That's right.
Man, let's talk about, and I appreciate all that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
Let's talk about gear for a minute.
I like to talk about gear. Gear I like.
What's your go-to guitar right now, and what other couple of guitars would round out your top three, maybe?
Easy question. So everything of mine is in storage right now, except for a few items. And the guitar that I have been using the most is a Nash Telly.
Interesting.
Which I know. I love it.
Wow.
I love the dude Britton Nash, the guy who's Bill Nash's son, who built it for me, and it's just an awesome guitar. But my kind of like the other guitar that I have with me is a 64 Jazzmaster, which is it's just the best.
Man, I saw some pictures of you. You have a really nice looking like Black Beauty Les Paul.
Les Paul, yeah, that's kind of my main guitar for the Bosstones. That's actually an awesome guitar. It's nothing crazy special. I think it was probably made in like '99, and but I've played it on hundreds of Bosstones gigs, and it's got like I've worn a hole through the paint into the wood from my pick.
That's
where the pick,
so cool.
I basically have proven why they make pick guards. But yeah, no, that's a great guitar.
So, and you said,
but truth be told, the reason why it's a great guitar is it's a played guitar.
Yeah.
To me, a played guitar is a great guitar, not a collectible guitar necessarily.
So it's like a best friend. You pick it up and you feel so good with it, kind of thing.
I just think that guitar instruments that are played get better and better.
Yeah. That Jazzmaster, the 65. When did you start?
64.
When did you start playing Jazzmasters? And what made you get that?
Oh man, Swerve Driver, My Bloody Valentine, all that stuff was like the inspiration. Not that unique of a story, but I don't know. I had a buddy that had one. It's just a cool guitar. I also have a Jaguar from the same year.
Original pickups in there and everything?
Everything original, yeah.
Wow. That's really cool. That's pretty uncommon.
Different bridge, that Mastery bridge, which is a popular kind of retrofit kind of thing.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a great guitar. I've used it on a lot of Bosstones records too, just recording, but it's definitely not a touring guitar for that gig at least.
What would you say the best guitar and the best amp you've ever owned?
Oh man, I would say that Jazzmaster is the best guitar.
Wow. Okay, that's badass.
I would say best amp. I'm going to give you two. I have an old matchless DC-30 that I've had a few of over the years, and it took me a long time to realize how amazing the amp is. I also have a mid-70s Master Volume Marshall.
Okay.
It's called a Lead Master 100, and it's orange. It's wrapped in orange. It's orange Tolex. It's awesome. And then for years I had an early 70s 4-input Marshall that it belonged to a buddy of mine that I had to give back the problem with having a studio is that everybody lets you use their gear or like store their gear.
Yeah.
And so like if I never moved my studio, I probably would have had that amp for another 20 years. If you move your studio, you got to give all the shit back.
There you go. You ever sell a guitar you wish you can get back?
A lot.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, God, in the early 90s, you could buy 60s Fenders for nothing, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I can't even remember some of the guitars that kind of came through the little camps that like bands that I was playing in. 335s, Les Pauls, things like that. I still have never owned an early 60s Strat, which is the dream guitar to me.
But do you have a Strat now?
I do. I actually have a Nash Strat.
You're really a fan of those guitars, the Nash. They're out of Nashville, aren't they?
Nope. He's in Seattle. Or somewhere outside of Seattle, Washington, yeah.
That's funny. No, I thought he was in Nashville. I guess I was in Carter Vintage, and I guess he had a bunch of them there one day, but that's just because it's Nashville and there's tons of guitars, I guess.
Could be, yeah.
I don't know why I assumed.
There's the Danicaster dude is in Nashville. He does a similar thing.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that are doing,
this
repro guitars, I suppose.
Really good. A lot of boutique, really good vintage builders. Desert Island Discs, Lawrence.
Oh boy, this is the question that's been giving me anxiety.
No particular order, man. Just for now, you could change tomorrow.
Okay, let's say. I got three. Oh shit! The thing is that when I read the question, I can't come up with any. Now that I'm answering the question, I can come up with 10. I think.
Yeah, that's always.
I'm going to say Physical Graffiti.
Okay, I figured you'd say Led Zeppelin 1 for Good Times, Bad Times.
No, I mean I love Zeppelin 1, but Physical Graffiti is a double album, so I get 2 for the price of 1 there.
That's the most popular Zeppelin album, by the way.
Is that right?
For the answer to this question, anyway. Yes.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's good reason for it.
Yeah, it's a great album.
Toss up between The Wall and Dark Side of the Moon. Let's go with The Wall. I'll go with The Wall. Stick with the double album theme. And then I'm going to take off the double album theme, and I'm going to say Ghost in the Machine.
Oh, cool. That's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah. Oh, man, that record is powerful.
Yeah, good record, man.
I don't know when the last time you heard that record is, but, in fact, Adam and I have this conversation a lot. That was a mainstream record, right? I mean, there were hits,
very much
hits off that record. I listened to it, and I was probably maybe 6th, maybe 7th grade when that record came out, and listened to it nonstop. And I can listen to that record today with all of the experience and musical knowledge that I have And it still blows my mind how intense and how deep that record is.
I just wrote it down because it's been a long time since I've listened to it, so I'm going to check it out this week.
And it's just like, it's spooky and mysterious sounding, like even down to the record cover. It's just like, I don't know. It's just great. That's just it.
All right.
Yeah. And such a far, and so on some level, so far removed from like Outlandish Dearmore and like the early records.
Yeah, just everything they did was really intense. Was musically very deep.
But there's such a sense of exploration to me. What I loved about those records, all of those records at that time.
Yeah, very much.
Nothing was super formatted. It was creative, basically.
Well, you mentioned like YYZ before. God, that stuff was like nuts, man. Musically,
Loved it. Still love it. I'll go to the mat and debate Rush. It's so polarizing. But I mean, if you tell me you don't like Rush, I got a problem with you.
Well, the thing is, three guys. There's three guys. There's only that's three guys making all that music.
Awesome.
That's pretty nuts.
When I was a kid and like listened to Exit Stage Left and like just mind blowing. Still blows my mind. Again, another band that, if you put out any of that stuff today, it's not getting on the radio. That's what they were playing on the radio.
Yeah, that's a good point. But nothing gets on the radio now. It's like there's like a format, I think, of the songs that are on the radio. I don't even know. I don't listen to the radio. I'm speaking out of school when it comes down to it. I haven't listened to the radio in years.
Understood. Classic rock is now they call it classic rock. It wasn't classic rock then.
No, it's rock, man. It's just rock. All right, questions. These are the tough ones, man. Most important things that you've learned about yourself through your journey, man.
Oh boy, I feel like we talked about them on some level. How to narrow it down to a sentence is the tricky part. Most important thing. I don't know. I'd say I'm still learning them. It's like the process, I suppose. I suppose if I had to answer that question, it's just patience in the process.
Fair enough, man.
Alliteration to boot.
Are you a rule breaker or a rule follower?
I'd say, depending on what it is, I probably stay a little more between the lines than I should. Yeah, I guess I would probably put myself in the rule follower, but not necessarily a follower, but a good soldier, if you will.
Yeah, getcha.
I mean, I want to know the rules, and so yeah. I mean, there's a lot that goes with that too, for sure.
Something or someone you miss from your childhood?
Oh man. Something or someone I miss from my childhood. Define childhood.
For me or for you?
Sure, for me.
Man, whatever feels like you're a kid. To me, that's what I would think.
Yeah, I guess.
You could be 18. That's a childhood.
Something or something I miss.
Something or someone.
Something or someone, right? I guess just, I don't know. I mean, I feel good about all of it being in the past, and I feel all good about how it was in the present at the time.
Cool. When you're having a bad day, what do you do to make yourself feel better?
Oh man, these are the hard ones.
Dude, you're like rapid fire, man. You got to get your mojo back here.
Not enough. Sometimes when I'm having a bad day, I just get so buried in it, I don't even realize I'm having a bad day.
Yeah.
I mean, the things that I should do or the things that I do.
Things that you do, man.
I don't know, escape out of it somehow. Or just grin and bear it until the next day.
Yeah. That's a common, most important person in your life.
Oh my God. I guess everybody in my immediate family. But although that said, I feel like that the people that are in my life are all very important. You know what I mean? I don't have a whole lot of filler in my life, and the people that I do are all very close and all, very genuine.
Very cool.
I've been, I don't want to use the word blessed because it gets hashtagged too often.
Does it?
But oh my God, you're joking, obviously. That and office for the day. But no, I feel like that I'm super fortunate to have the people in my life that I do, from my immediate family to my, my wife and baby, and I have a unbelievable group of friends.
That's cool, man. I'm happy for you.
All who have, do, what we're talking about.
Hashtag blessed.
That's right. That's right. Or hashtag gratitude.
That one I hate. I see that all the time.
Oh, God. Or hashtag, how did I get so cynical?
You know what I want to see? I want to see someone like having a fucking horrible day and then say hashtag gratitude.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Who's had the biggest influence on you, both musically and then personally?
Whew. I mean, I would say, influence. I mean, I'd have to say, my parents and my immediate family, my parents have always been super, super supportive, and, maybe even to a fault, so, sometimes if you tell somebody they can't do something, then they do it even harder, faster, and better. My parents have always been super supportive of me. So
that's cool, man.
I'll give it that.
And that's the number one thing all players have in common, that they had supportive parents.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the number one by a long shot. Even if there was like severe dysfunction in the family, there was they had supportive parents, and I'd say over 99% of the people I've spoken.
I mean, it's not the norm necessarily.
Yeah.
Particularly if you've got post-depression era values happening in your family dynamic, and then for your and I had older parents also, which was somewhat unique about my situation. But I mean, the attitude was you can do it even if you and the irony is that in music you want to be told you can't do it.
Yeah. Righteous indignation is very good fuel.
Right. That's right.
Speaking of your folks, what's the most important thing your dad and your mom taught you separate?
Oh, man. It's interesting. My dad read this at my wedding was The Road Less Traveled.
Oh, yeah.
So it's, just stay your course. And I would say my mom. My mom definitely taught me a lot of emotional lessons, I suppose. You know what I mean? Like I said, she was a therapist, so there was good therapy happening there.
You know what, though, man? That's really good, because most parents are so dysfunctional that, the fact that she knew how to tell you, okay, here's how you communicate those emotions.
Right.
That's a huge
It took
plus.
a while. I mean, it certainly took a while.
Yeah. Well, of course. Of course. Goes back to the thing. It's not day one that something happens. It's always, a lot of work to get shit done.
That's right. Yeah.
Any hobbies or interests outside of music?
I wish I could play golf every day.
Oh, you like golf?
It's hard to do with a kid. I love golf. Yeah,
that's cool, man.
But I should add. This is where I should out Adam Zimmons, because Adam might be the best golfer I've ever seen.
Really?
Not truthfully, but I've seen some pretty good golfers. But Adam is a rip shit golfer.
Interesting, because I think
why he doesn't brag about that, I just have no idea.
No, he didn't say anything. I think he told me the thing he likes doing. I can't 100% remember. I don't think he said cooking. Maybe. That's
funny. That sounds like him bullshitting you.
Yeah,
but no. He doesn't do it that much, but he did it a lot as a kid. It's like, it's the riding a bike thing.
Yeah.
He's just so fluid with it. But I like to say physically active, although there was a time where I was doing a lot of cycling also. In fact, I rode my bike with my brother from basically like all through Big Sur down to Santa Barbara. We did it a couple times, in fact. And then I broke my arm on the bike, and that seemed like an occupational hazard.
Yeah, man.
So breaking your arm is not fun.
How far is that from Big Sur down to?
We started in like Carmel area, and then all through Big Sur, all through like that like San Simeon zone. I think it was probably maybe somewhere around 300 miles, maybe a little less.
Holy shit, that's like some serious bike riding, man.
Yeah, but it's awesome.
Wow,
God, like amazing. I mean, basically, it's not like you ride 80 miles in a day and then we'd sleep in beds. You know what I mean? Like sleep at a hotel and eat your face off and drink as much beer as you could, and then get up the next morning. And
dude, that's a lot of riding, though, man. That's wow.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's great. Congratulations. Toughest decision you've ever had to make, or most difficult thing you've ever had to do?
Wow. The toughest decision I've ever had. I don't like to make decisions. That's more true than than you'll realize. But the toughest decision, I guess, any of those situations of like leaving Atlanta to go to Boston was a huge one, and scary. For a kid growing up in Atlanta, like. I got to Boston, man. I may as well have been on the moon.
Yeah.
And then the same for going to LA.
Yeah.
But all great decisions ultimately. Coming here wasn't an easy decision.
Yeah.
Although on some level it was, just again, change is good. So.
All right. So last question. Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of this change has been intentional and deliberate, and how much is it just a natural part of aging?
I would say yes. I'm just kidding.
I want to call my secret.
I think probably the biggest change is, kind of what we were saying before, just kind of staying in your lane and feeling kind of confident about what you're doing, and, probably more positive, more optimistic. And it's certainly effort driven. I mean, we could even say #grateful.
Hashtag thank goodness. You know what, just for whatever it's worth, first of all, thank you. But, when every time you said staying in your lane, you're like energy on that, and it's like your confidence has been like, boom. So it's like, it's the real deal, man. So it comes out like that. So good for you.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't thank you enough for your time.
Work in progress, by the way. And that's just, again, like, I think it's like being okay with where you are and what you're doing without feeling too overwhelmed by how cool and how much amazing stuff everybody else is doing. If that makes sense.
Totally, man. I hear you. Lawrence, I can't thank you enough for everything. I really enjoyed this. This is a great hang. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm honored to be on here with some of the company that I'm amongst.
Thanks, man. Well, the pleasure was mine. And I want to tell people where to find you. It's Lawrence Katz, Katz. You can check him out on Instagram, where he'll be hashtagging Hashtag gratitude. Like
office for the day. At today's office, I think it is.
The Lawrence Katz.
Don't leave blessed out there.
And hashtag blessed. Yes. It's hashtag it's at the Lawrence Katz, LAWRENCE, of course. Check out the Bosstones' last record. It's very cool. While we're at it, really good record. And the Bosstones are actually touring again after the first of the new year. So check them out. And can I tell people to come say hello to you if they see you at the show? And say, hey, I heard your interview and you're a fucking stud. Hashtag thank goodness.
Say hello to me, even not at the show.
There you go. Come see Lawrence Katz and say hello to him.
Anywhere. I'm always available for a hello.
Anywhere.
Get my phone number out on this?
He's always available for a hello. And if you have any good recommendations on some new baby food, he's down to hear that. For toddler, it's not even baby now. It's toddler, isn't it?
She's a toddler, man. She's ready to go. She's 2 years old, basically.
Rock and rolling. Dude, I can't thank you enough. This is really cool. I wish you a lot of luck. Congratulations and everything with the baby and with the new move to Philly. And when you're coming down here to the Bosstones, I will fucking hit you up and say hello in person for sure.
Please do. I'd be happy to do it.
Oh, and
hey, thank you. That was awesome. I'm super. I think this might be this is the first podcast I've ever done.
Oh, I broke your cherry. I hope I was gentle.
That's right. You were very
And check out, please, before I forget, sorry, man, The Whole Damn Mess. Great band, really good band. And if those guys are touring, you definitely want to see them as well. And check out the new record. I'm sorry, it's Queen and the
Outcast.
Queen and the Outcast. And check out the video. The reason why I didn't know it's because I watched all the videos on YouTube. I'm becoming like everyone. I'm watching videos on YouTube. But you know what I did? I just signed up. I've never done it in my life. I felt like I was a traitor. I just bought Apple Music, streaming. And as much as I hate to admit it, I can understand why it's like people do it. It's like my whole, the whole world musically is now in my computer. It's crazy, man.
I do the Spotify thing, but it's the access is insane.
I originally did it because a lot of guests come on and they have something to promote. And I felt like I was really annoying people like, oh, send me the tracks. And I'm like, man, let me just make everyone's life easier and just, and then my kids are all buying it on their own. And I'm like, wait a minute, I get a family plan. You guys don't have to pay anything. And, it's $5 a month more for me for all of you. So I'm like, great, this is a win. And I'm really happy with it, man.
There you go.
But anyway, so check out.
We're not talking about records anymore.
No, I know.
We're not walking to the record store anymore to get to walk home with Ozzy Osbourne Blizzard of Oz.
Used copy, $4.99.
That was a good day.
There you go. Dude, I appreciate it. Thank you for everything. Everybody, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this interview, please share it with a friend on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Thanks again to Lawrence Katz. I really had a good time. Thank you for spending time with us. I appreciate it. And check him out on the road with The Whole Damn Mess and with the Bosstones. And check him out on Instagram at the Lawrence Katz. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.